Alright, welcome back. For this video I wanted to go over some more radicals, just to get a few more things out of them that I wanted to show you. So let's get started. The square root of 36 is just 6, and we have 3 root 3, and then 75 is 3 times 25. You want to get a square out of that number on the root, so 25 is 5 squared, and we can pull that out front. So 6 plus 3 root 3 plus 5 times root 3. And then you can just add the terms with the square roots together, so you end up with 6 plus 8 root 5. With problem 2 here, the left term is already simplified all the way, so we can just write it out. And then the second term, you have 27 under the radical, so you can guess you're trying to get a square, so 3 times 9 is 27. So you have 3 times 9. And then you can pull an x out of there, put it on the first x, that under square root, and then for the last term you have 15. You can pull an x squared out of the root, and then under the radical you have 3 times 4 is 12. There's still an x there. So you got x squared times the root of 3x. And then we can pull the 9 out. So you have minus 30 x squared times root 3x. And then here you can pull the 4 out, so you have 2 times 15 is 30, x squared times root 3x, and those are just going to subtract out, so you're just left with x squared root 3x. In problem 3 here, we got 4 times the square root of 4 is 2, and then there's root 3 on the bottom, which is an irrational number, so we need to multiply by root 3 over 3 over root 3. And then the right term again, you have 3 times 25. So that gives you 8 times root 3 over 3. And then you can pull the 5 out, so you have 5 root 3. So to make this easy to read, we'll factor the root 3 out. And then we just do the fraction, multiply 5 by 3 over 3. So you have 8 minus 15 over 3 times root 3. And that just gives you minus 7/3 times the square root of 3. For problem 4, we got 35 times the square root of 3x to the 9th. So you can pull out an x to the 4th, which leaves root 3x. Then you already have x to the 4th out there, and the 108 is just 3 times 16, so we have a square we can use, times x, and then again we can pull an x to the 4th out, so you have 2x to the 4th, and 108 is 3 times 36. Left with an x. So you have 35 x to the 4th times root 3x. And we can pull the 16 out, so that becomes 4 x to the 4th times root 3x. And then pull the 36 out, which becomes 6 times 2 is 12. x to the fourth times root 3x. So we essentially just have 35 plus 4 minus 12 all times root 3x. So that just gives us 27 x to the fourth times root 3x. For problem 5, we got 4 times the square root of 8x. So we can write that as 2 times 4x under the square root. And then you have 4 times root x over 2. So you're going to multiply that by root 2 over root 2. So you pull the 4 out of here and you get 2 times 4 is 8 times root 2x. And then you get 4 times root 2x over 2. So it gives you 8 root 2x plus 2 root 2x, which is just 10 times root 2x. For problem 6, we're looking at 2 times the square root of 1 over 5. So you have 2, the square root of 1 is just 1. So we have root 5 on the bottom. So you can multiply that by root 5 over root 5. And then 125 is just 5 times 25. And then 20 is just 4 times 5. So 4 times 5 on the square root. So that gives you 2 times root 5 divided by 5. No, pull that's 5 out, or the pull 25 out, it becomes 5 times root 5. And then pull the 4 out, so 2 times 2 is 4 times root 5. So you can subtract these two together. So you get 2 root 5 over 5 plus just root 5. Factor the root 5 out, so you have 2/5 plus 1 times root 5. So you multiply the 5 up, so you have 2 plus 5 over 5 times root 5. And you just end up with 7/5 times root 5. Okay, so number 7 looks like a fun one. So you have x times the square root of 18, which is 2 times 9. And then x y to the 5th, you can actually pull y to the 4th out. So let's do that real quick. So you have x times y squared times root 2 times 9x. Then you have minus xy squared. 32 is 2 times 16 times xy. I forgot a y under here. Okay. And you got 10. So you can pull an x squared out of the root. So you have 10 times x. And then you can pull y to the 4th out. So it gives you y squared. And that's times 2xy under the root. So if you pull the 9 out, you get 3xy squared times root 2xy. It's going to be minus xy squared. You can pull the 16 out, so that's 4xy squared times root 2xy. And just plus 10xy squared times root 2xy. So you have 3 minus 4 is negative 1, plus 10 is 9. So you end up with 9 times xy squared times root 2xy. Draw that better. Okay, last problem. So x squared minus 1 is also x plus 1 times x minus 1. So if you multiply those together, you get x squared minus 1. And that's divided by x minus 1 and all under the square root. And for the right hand term, we're going to multiply the 1 on the left by x over x. So you end up with x plus 1 over x. Maybe I could write that out for you guys. So x over x plus 1 over x, all under the square root. And then for this left term, the x minus 1's divide out. So you're just left with x plus 1 under the square root. And then for the right term, you have a common denominator, so you have x plus 1 over x, all under the square root. And we're going to multiply that by square root of x over square root of x. So that gives you x plus 1 under the root plus square root of x plus 1 times the square root of x all over x, and then we can factor out the root x plus 1, so that'll just be times 1 plus square root of x over x. And then you could even do the same thing inside the parentheses here that we did earlier, where you multiply the 1 by x over x. So you get x plus square root of x all over x times the square root of x plus 1. Not a pretty answer, but there you go.